everybody. I'm Derek Moore, curator here at the National Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
And I'm Daniel Decker, preservation technician.
We're here today bringing you a series called Collections on Track. It's a look at the exciting world of automotive preservation here at the museum and what we do to kind of take care of the collection here and take care of the cars and all of the things we house in this amazing collection so that we can preserve them for the future and for all of you to come see here at the museum. The car we're going to look at today, kind of the star of this episode, is Bill Ingles' Sweat Hog, which is here behind me and Daniel. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about what we did with this car. And we have actually chosen to do a process of what we call shutting down the car to make sure it is preserved the way it needs to be for the museum. Basically what we do is it involves actually getting the car up and running and taking it out on the track and running it around to make sure things are really up and going the way they're supposed to be. I'm going to let Daniel talk to you a little bit about that prep that goes into getting the car running.
As Derek mentioned, we want to get the car up and functioning, fully functional. So we go through every system of the car. We found on this car it had some leaky calipers, so we went through and we rebuilt all the brake calipers, also the master cylinder, because you want every part of this car functioning properly.
So after we've run the car on the track and made sure everything is running properly, we actually bring it back to the shop and drain some of the fluids out of it, including the oil and water. Those are the two main ones, along with the gasoline. And we do that because there's a lot of chemical reactions that can occur in those fluids when they're inside of an engine or inside of a fuel tank, and we want to make sure that we don't cause any issues that are unnecessary within the car so that, as I said earlier, we can preserve it as long as possible. So Daniel, we've got the car up to the point where it's ready to run, and I think we're ready to take it over on the track. You ready?
It all depends. Am I going to get to drive?
If you behave. This is the NCM Motorsports Park, a 3.2-mile road course with 23 turns that lends itself to multiple course configurations. The overall track configuration was designed using challenging features such as elevation changes and turns, reminiscent of the famed Circuit de la Sarthe in France, best known for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. The Motorsports Park is used for a wide variety of activities, including visitor experiences from hot laps in a track-prepped Corvette, touring laps in a C7 Corvette, high-performance drivers education classes, and karting. Some days though, the collections team from the National Corvette Museum gets to take over the track and make sure the NCM collection vehicles are being properly cared for.
Test. Can you hear me?
Yes. That should be good.
So we're actually going to talk to one another while you're driving?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to start recording my bit.
All right, 10-4.
Are we ready? I've driven other race cars, from brass-era beasts like the Locomobile known as Old 16, to the mid-century Chrysler 300 NASCARs of Carl Kiekhaefer. But this 1967, Bill Ingles' 1967 big block Corvette, is an incredible machine, meant to be on the winding road courses of American sports car racing of the 1970s at Watkins Glen and Lime Road.
Hey, Derek.
Yeah.
How's you feeling?
What?
How's it feel?
It needs to warm up. It's cold. Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you over the car.
Yeah, I was afraid of that with the exhaust and noise inside the car.
Well, hang on. Yeah, no, rolling the window up didn't help any.
Ah, okay.
It's still loud.
Yeah. A little cold-natured, huh?
All right, well, I'm going to start recording my bit.
All right, 10-4.
And this is Bill Ingles' 1967 Sweat Hog L71 Corvette on the track at the NCM Motorsports Park. Now the L71 427 cubic inch, 435 horsepower dream machine. Some of its closest competition was the 1967 Shelby GT 500, 428 cubic inch, 355 horse engine. Top speed on a Shelby GT, 130 roughly. Top speed on an L71, estimated around 150 mile an hour. Bill Engel was not the original owner of this car. He actually tracked this car down in 1971, and it had a blown engine, which was perfect because he wanted to build it the way he wanted it. And that's exactly what he did. He raced at tracks like Watkins Glen and Lime Rock. And let me tell you what, he built one heck of a car. Some of the interesting tidbits behind the 1967 Corvette. Of course, the L71 was just under $5,000, packaged out the way Sweat Hog was originally. It came in Goodwood green, which happened to be the most popular color in 1967 for the Corvette. Which it still wears a majority of its original paint. Bill Engel had an accident racing and actually hit a wall and had to rebuild the front end of the car. So if you come to the museum, you'll notice that the front end paint is slightly different from the rest of the car, kind of showing you the distinction of the original paint over the repainted front end. Sweat Hog, as we affectionately call it here at the National Corvette Museum, was actually Bill Engel's nickname in his Corvette club. Yes, sir. The parking lights? Okay. All right, that should be on. Okay, I'll do maybe one or two more laps. I'll come in and turn it over to you. Making a vehicle live once again to show what a historic Corvette was capable of. And though it is a rare occasion that we bring the soul of one of the museum vehicles out like this, it is a moving occasion. The soul of any automobile lives in its performance, but the soul of a Corvette, that lives in the performance on the track. From the very beginning of Corvette, Harley Earl, Zora Arkus Duntov, Bill Mitchell, and so many others knew that Corvette would be America's sports car, and that meant Corvette would be on racetracks. Corvettes were engineered to be on the track. They were meant to take the tight turns, speed down the straightaway, and defeat the competition. Bringing Bill Engel's 1967 Corvette back to the track was awakening this Corvette's soul. With my laps over, it's time to reluctantly let Daniel have some fun. Do some vehicle evaluation laps in Sweat Hog here at the MSP.
We're going to be trying out the 1967 Corvette Sweat Hog car. No power steering, no power brakes, but it does have four-wheel disc brakes. See how well it performs on the track at the Motorsports Park, National Corvette Museum. I'm just impressed with the suspension and the handling of this car from 1967 on how well it performs on the track as far as, you know, in the curves and with no power steering. Hello. Okay, all right.
It may not be the fastest car on the track down the straight, but through the turns is where Sweat Hog shines. Holding the road like a Corvette was intended, snapping out of the turn and lining itself up to dive into the next.
You know, I think Bill did an awesome job getting this car set up for tracking and road racing. Just everything feels really good.
All right, Daniel, 1967 L71 Corvette, 427, 435 horsepower. This was donated to us by Bill Engel, affectionately known as Sweat Hog. Fantastic car out on the track. Just an amazing car. We've done a lot of work to get this thing up and going, back out on the track, running right. And I mean, Daniel, I had a great time out there. It was, I mean, everything you hear Corvette should be.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. Just the way the car handled, coming out of the turns, there was no body roll. Horsepower, I mean, when you mash down on it and kick all the carburetors in, I mean, all three deuces, it's just unreal. I mean, the car will just set you back in the seat. And when you go to stop, I mean, the car stopped. I mean, even though it's four-wheel disc brakes with no power, I mean, the car stops great.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I think it just goes to show that even though Bill Engel put a lot of work into this engine, rebuilding it, making it what he wanted, he didn't really touch the suspension. I mean, this is a pretty well factory set up car, and I mean, it's out there handling like a fantastic race car.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, evidently in 1967, GM had it together with the suspension on this car.
All right, so Daniel, we've had the car out on the track. We've got it back in its position on the museum floor. Had a lot of fun out on the track. I think that's one of the cool things that people don't get about automotive conservation or any machinery type conservation is it might seem boring, but there's a lot of fun parts of it where we actually get to go out and make sure everything's running right. And that's been an exciting thing. It's shut down. It's here for all of you to see. And hopefully you had fun out there, Daniel.
I had a great time on the track, but I really do think that my lap times were a little bit better than yours.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. We'll look at the video.
And until next time, this is Daniel Decker.
And I'm Derek Moore, and this has been Collections on Track.
Which camera?